welcome everyone to this absolutely amazing panel discussion where we have some very bright brains from the industry who are going to be talking about AI and the future of human skills, right? So without further ado, let's very quickly begin. My first question is going to be to you, Sumit. I would like to ask you, what emerging trends in the realm of automation and AI are reshaping the landscape of human skills, and how can we navigate and adapt to these changes?
Thanks. It's a fairly large set of stuff in there, but I'll try my best to talk about some of the things we are seeing. Starting with the obvious one, everybody's speaking about AI and ML, but what it really means for employees and workers out there in terms of adapting to stuff like how do algorithms work, how do use AI in workflows that already exist. These are all sort of new things to discover, learn, interpret. Then there is the whole world of robotics, whether it is simple RPA automation or cobots. Cobots are bots that will work with humans. So humans need to start learning skills of managing a workforce of bots and humans. That's a whole new space that's coming up. There is, of course, the whole area of designing of automation. How do you deploy automation? Where does it make sense to do that? That's a whole new space with this particular trend that's emerging. There is also vastly critical right now the use of NLP and chatbots, specifically as customer experience becomes more and more critical for services and product companies. People with expertise around building NLP, conversational bots and designing these sort of processes and building workflows with these embedded will become very critical. And also at the very base level, your call takers who you call in every call center, these guys are now getting enabled by these conversational bots. So they can answer the more difficult stuff, the more human interaction where that's required is being passed to the humans, whereas the bots will take care of the obvious stuff. That also therefore highlights the big requirement of social, collaborative, problem-solving human skills. Because a lot of this technology will do the very base level work, but humans will now need to have deeper connections with people. Why? Because without understanding the problem, you can't use any of this technology. So humans will need to have deeper understanding capability, problem-solving skills, critical thinking, empathy, to the empathy not just for people, but to a problem. If you don't have empathy towards a problem and you don't view it from that perspective, you can't design the right solution. So that is going to be critical. And the favorite of mine is learning agility or learnability or adaptability. Because no matter how much we think we know about what's coming as trends and technology, it will refresh in the next 6 months. So the only thing that needs to really work with us humans is our curiosity, our ability to continuously learn. Because I like to say, if you stop learning, you're better off fertilizing daffodils. Because learning agility is the one skill all organizations must look for while hiring employees. Everything else can be taught. You can't teach somebody to be continuously curious and to continuously be open to adapting to new technology. So that is, in a nutshell, the trends and how sort of one can deal with these.
Thank you very much, Sumit. Indeed, very interesting, thought that you just shared with us. Let's just talk a little more about the human skills that are required in this particular era of automation. So my next question is going to be you to Amit. In your opinion, what are some key human skills that are the most valuable in this era of automation? Of course, a couple of them Sumit has already spilled the beans about, but what is your perspective? How can a person go about acquiring these skills? And if you could just tell us a little more about your thoughts on this.
So first of all, a very good evening to everybody, and thank you, Deepshika. This is a wonderful topic which all of us should, in fact, introspect and debate as much as possible. Because nowadays, we're all talking about AI, we're talking about ChatGPT, we're talking about robotics so much that many a times we forget that it is we humans who created all of them. It's not them who have created us. And we really forget it so much that I've seen people within organizations and within my ecosystem forgetting very basic human skills. We're talking about, Sumit was talking about empathy. We don't know what is empathy. EI is way ahead, right? We believe in more transactional work. We do not, what Sumit was talking about, adding that creativity, adding that emotional touch, adding that, I would say, critical thinking, or your human judgment to all the important decisions which change businesses and organizations, right? AI, your robotics, they can do as many transactions as possible, but they can't take those important critical decisions which your promoters, which your MDs or CEOs or business heads take. So it needs a lot of gut feeling, a lot of human judgment. Ethical intelligence, something which is coming nowadays, like emotional intelligence. When there are very difficult situations, how you as a human being, you actually critically analyze all the data inputs of facts which are coming to you. And then we all talk about DEI. We talk about culturally, we are very changing as an organization. We have people from different demographies. We have people from different cultures. Do we know as a human, or as, I would say, an organizational human capital, that how we need to understand, adapt, and respect these people coming from different demographies? So there are a lot of very important human skills which one should definitely understand, give importance in this era of AI and automation. The next question is, how should we start acquiring these skills, or how should we promote that one should acquire? So I'll go with Sumit, learning agility. That first of all, you should be open that yes, there is something called these human skills which you just talked about that one should have and one should definitely learn. So if you're open for that, that is the first step. The second step, you will have to understand that you'll have to go with different options of acquiring these skills. We're talking about, in fact, we're debating on learning styles. I heard in one of the panel discussions that it's quite debatable, but I personally see that learning styles do make a difference. So you have to understand what kind of learning style is more prominent for you. Would you like to go on a YouTube channel and acquire those basic understanding of empathy, EI, critical thinking, cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, whatever you call about it? Or would you like to go for a course on an e-learning digital platform because you are a self-learner and you would like to go through a video conversation or probably a case study? Or would you like to go into a face-to-face workshop? So these are different things coming on the table. At the same time, nowadays, project-based, application-based learning is something which is very important. Normally, it is linked with very kind of project management or technical trainings, but I really promote for such kind of important human skills to be gathered. Application is the key. You go and attend a 2 days or a 3 days comprehensive workshop on emotional intelligence. You understand all those 4 components of self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, relationship management. The next day when you come to your office, your external environment is so strong, you forget the application. So application is the key. And then when you apply it, please promote it to others. Please keep on teaching, preaching, training, facilitating it to others. These are some of the important ways you can actually not only gain them, but also promote them to others.
What a wonderful thought indeed. But I would just like to add to what you just mentioned. I think it's very important for this learning to be experiential for people as well. And like what you rightly mentioned, it's important for leaders to demonstrate that in their own behavior. Because that is when your team members experience empathy being displayed towards them, they automatically emulate that in their behavior as well. Because if you demonstrate that compassion, that empathy, that basic kindness and gentleness towards them in helping them with a difficult situation that they are facing in their life, they will remember that as a virtue and will make it a part of themselves as well as their behavior.
Absolutely.
Right? All right, so let's just slightly pivot now. We've talked about automation, we've talked about human skills. Let's talk to the man from the health industry now, Kapil. My next question is to you. In what ways can AI complement and amplify human capabilities to achieve greater productivity?
Absolutely. So I come from a company called Providence. When she said healthcare, Providence has around 50 hospitals and 1,100 clinics in the US. And we've been working on some of these technologies for the last 5 years, more so from India. I'll tell you how we are saving lives using artificial intelligence and how they are really helping our doctors and nurses. So the first use case, we see a lot of cardiac arrest happening, right? So this data is fed using the latest cloud technologies onto large data sets. Our systems monitor the vitals of the patients. Based on this information, AI is going to predict what's going to happen to a patient in the next 4 hours, which means that hospitals are better prepared to go for an emergency in the operation theaters, better schedule and make doctors available when such situations happen. This is something that traditionally nurses used to call the doctors and say there's an emergency. Now systems are doing this. That's one use case. Second thing that I will say is that how are we reducing the administrative burden on nurses? You would see in hospitals, nurses actually writing a lot of paperwork on the diagnosis, the treatment provided. All of this, today an AI is actually summarizing and putting it in an electronic health record. The nurse only has to proofread it and see if it is factually correct and it makes sense. It reduces a lot of administrative burden on them, and they spend a lot of time on the bedside treating patients, which is their main job. Okay? A third use case that I can tell, which we are currently developing, is the typical MRI scans and X-rays that we see. They are fed into the systems. The system reads through that, does image pattern matching, and tells what is the kind of ailment that a patient has and what diagnosis needs to be provided. A doctor then actually uses that to go with the right kind of treatment. In certain cases, they also look at what other comorbidities are there, like diabetes or blood pressure, and what kind of drugs worked in that situation. That's from a healthcare standpoint. I'll talk about 2 other industries which may be of relevance. We all go to retail supermarkets, right? There are companies in the US who have already started using AI to exactly tell when should the supplies be put onto the counter so that they remain fresh. And whenever there are products which are going to be expired, how should you discount them and at what price point? Imagine a multi-billion-dollar business with so many retail outlets. No human being can physically do it. And that's where AI is doing. And the third thing, this is the future. We already know the war that is happening. The future war is going to be with AI. AI is going to simulate. A lot of governments are already using this to simulate what different agents are going to do and what strategies need to be used. I think this is already happening. It's just that there is no, I would say this is all IP, so that's why it's not there out in the media. But this is work that's been happening in the last 5 years.
But Kapil, honestly, that scares me a little because, you know, artificial intelligence is something that's available to everybody out there, right? How do we make sure that we ethically are using it the right way? Because where that use can happen, misuse can also happen at the same point in time. So Vikas, would you like to take that question up? That how do we make sure that, how do we bridge the gap between technological advancement and ethical considerations surrounding its use, ensuring the responsible and inclusive approach, and of course the safety element that needs to be there?
That's a great question, Deepshika. And of course, the pace at which the advancement, the transformation is happening, we have seen that pace over last 1 decade. And since morning, there is no, we have seen so many sessions right from General Bikram Singh, then Shiv Khera, sir, talking about the need of continuous learning, reskilling, upskilling, and learn by doing, etc. So now we know that we need to learn, We also know that what we need to learn. But the most important thing which I believe is we should know that how to learn. So once we know that how to learn, we will be able to not only do our job better, but also be able to take out that time from our schedules and get that time to self-development, reskilling, upskilling, etc. So to answer your question, Deepshika, in terms of how do we bridge those skill gaps, of course, there are many delivery methods available at our disposal. We have self-learning, we have e-learning, self-paced learning. Then there are mentors, there are coaches available who are there to teach us the technologies which are rapidly changing the landscape. But yes, as I said, the best and the most effective way which I think to learn and remain relevant, not only remain relevant, but stay ahead of the curve is learn by doing. So learn by doing ourselves, get ourselves hands-on, and make all these technologies like of AI, ML, data, chat GPT a companion rather than competing with them. So while we know that we are hearing, it's a question which coming to our side, will AI replace me? Will ChatGPT replace me? So yes, there was an answer some time ago, yes, but I believe the answer is no. Because if we are able to make AI and ChatGPT as our companion, as our friends, not get on a war with them, yes, so that's something which is, will help us succeed together in this time of transformation.
Great, thank you, Vikas. But I would like to throw this question at the panel to ask, what is your opinion about the ethical usage of AI? I mean, what are some of the things that the industry must do, the government must do to make sure that the use of AI is totally ethical and is within control?
Right. I can just start on that one. 2 days ago, there was a law passed in New York on using AI for recruitment purposes. I think regulation is going to come. Like with any new technology, regulation always plays a catch-up game. It's never too fast because one needs to know what it is. We see a lot of regulation in healthcare on how data is used. I think that is going to come, but a lot more serious consideration needs to be made on the impact on the livelihoods of people and to what extent do we want to use AI. I think that will be the next thing.
I resonate with you, and definitely AI, like we have been talking about it. I really like, Vikas, your statement that we have to make AI as our companion. We don't have to make AI probably somebody who can actually tell us what to do and what not to do. So we should complement better with AI and all other robotic technologies and whatever we are doing. That is point number one. Second, yes, there has to be certain kind of governance around it, how this entire data, how this entire input is coming into usage, whether ethical or non-ethical, because otherwise there will be no limitations around it. Everybody is talking about privacy, especially in the West. We are not talking about it. All that data which is coming as an input to AI is coming from our footprints, whatever we are doing. We are not understanding it right now. That is what you're talking about. It is probably not that open to all of us. But it is actually whatever we are doing, whatever we have done in the past, it is coming back to us in an algorithmic manner, and we are not understanding it. So definitely there has to be some kind of limitation, some kind of governance, some kind of regulation around it, how much it to be used and how not to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add, I think the entire sort of industry is taking this seriously, and if you look at it, it's becoming a career option as well, a new age career around building ethical biases into your automation. So even the bots can be smart enough and be coded to understand to some degree what's ethical and what's not.
Cognitive capability.
Yes, and what they can't, that's where our jobs are safe. And that's where the human skills need to be invested. So more and more stuff around cybersecurity, ethical sort of bias discerning and stuff like this is going to be the new age job roles that you'll start seeing coming up, as we are seeing sustainability, ESG becoming suddenly big now, although it was always important, but now you see no company publishes, can be without a published report on sustainability. Similarly, there is a day not very far when ethics reports and ethics and publications will be made by organizations for investors in terms of how AI is being used responsibly, because it is indeed scary otherwise.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you very much for your perspective, gentlemen, on this. One last question for all of you on the panel here today. What are the potential socio-economic impacts of automation on workforce? This actually crops up from what you mentioned just a while back. And how must people leaders collaborate with stakeholders to address these challenges? Because it is a little scary, a lot of people are feeling insecure that, okay, about 5 years back, this job was relevant in the industry, suddenly it does not exist because of automation or because of AI or because of robotics. So, yeah, it is kind of scary. So what is your opinion on this?
So yeah, it's not only about AI, but also the robotic process automation part, which actually is gradually replacing a lot of mundane and repetitive tasks which we do in our organization. For example, whether it is code to order, code to cash, or code to invoice kind of payment, account payable, receivable. Every such task is now being automated. That means the number of people who are working on those roles since ages, they have been replaced by RPA. And
I've been talking about it. I really like us your statement that we have to make AI as a companion. We don't have to make AI probably somebody who can actually tell us what to do and what not to do. So we should complement better with AI and what are the robotic technologies and what are we doing. That is point number one. Second, yes, there has to be certain kind of governance around it, how this entire data, how this entire input is coming into usage, whether it's ethical or non-ethical, because otherwise there will be no limitations around it. Everybody is talking about privacy, especially the West. We are not talking about all that data which is coming as an input to the AI is coming from our footprints, whatever we are doing. We are not understanding it right now. That is what we are talking about. It is probably not that open to all of us, but it is actually whatever we are doing, whatever we have done in the past, it is coming back to us in an algorithmic manner, and we are not understanding it. So definitely there has to be some kind of limitation, some kind of governance, some kind of regulation around it, how much it to be used and how not to be.
And just to add, I think the entire sort of industry is taking this seriously. If you look at it, it's becoming a career option as well, a new age career around, building ethical biases into your automation. So even the bots can be smart enough and be coded to understand some degree what's ethical and what's not.
Cognitive capability.
Yes, and what they can't. That's where art focus, and that's where the human skills need to be invested for more and more stuff around cybersecurity, ethical bias discerning, and stuff like this is going to be the new age job roles that start seeing coming up. As we are seeing sustainability, ESG becoming certainly big now, although it was always important, but now you see no company that publishes, can be without a published report just sustainability. Similarly, they aren't very far with ethics reports and ethics and, applications will be made by organizations for investors in terms of how the AI is being used responsibly. Because it is scary otherwise.
Thank you very much for your perspective, and of this. One last question for all of you on the panel today. What are the potential socio-economic impacts of automation on work? This actually crops up from what you mentioned just a while back. And how must people leaders collaborate with stakeholders to address these challenges? Because it is a little scary. A lot of people are being insecure that, okay, about 5 years back,
this job was relevant in the industry, suddenly it does not exist because of automation or because of AI or because of robotics. So, yeah, it is kind of scary. So what is your opinion of this?
So yeah, it's not about AI, but also the process automation in biology essentially is gradually seeing out of living and repetitive tasks which we do domination. Other than as what is put to order, put to batch, or put to voice. Account be receivable. Now these such tasks is now being automated. That means the number of people who are being who are working on those roles, sales ages, they have been replaced by RPA and by AI. So does it mean that those people will no longer do the automation? The answer is no, of course, because as I said, if we make AI as companion and apply or bring the perspective of emotional intelligence, which AI cannot train in the roles, we can make the organization more effective than. As leaders, what I think is that I specifically our network, the network distribution, virtualization, etc. is the word. The skilling and the reskilling of people take the taxi, and the organization do not invest as heavily as they used to earlier. Because that's a question. Still today, we believe that HR and learning development function is a cost center in the organization. However, if we bring that change of all this terms of putting L&D and HR not as a cost center, but as a revenue making center, and put an investment, upskill people, and thereby enabling them to do better, bring more revenue for the organization. And when there is the growth for
the community, for the organization. I think that's the impact which is required from an upskilling point of view.
So to answer you, Deepshika, just on this impact on the socio-economic and those kind of dimensions, right? The way I'm looking at it, technology is freeing up people far more than ever before. So there is no need to be afraid of it, embrace it. Increasingly, we are hearing the term digital nomads, gig workers. People, I have friends working out of Bali for the last 2 years. They don't come back home. They are creating their sort of income solely using what empowerment technology has given them. So they are coding from there, they are using generative AI to build conversational bots for companies. They're not on any payroll, but they have acquired the skill and then they are embracing this technology. Closer home in our own company, we have in FirstSource, for example, looked at this pattern and we've said this whole gig workforce which is sitting outside somewhere in the world, and of course you can contract some of these very talented people. A lot of people who are afraid of working full-time, 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. Gen Z doesn't like that. You know, I don't like that. I'm not from Gen Z, but I don't like that myself. But the fact is, we've opened up some of these gig projects within our company. So we are saying, here is technology, here is a portal, here are tools, you learn in your time, and here is a list of projects that are available over and above what you do here with us. If you want to work those extra 4 hours, 6 hours, here is the per hour rate at which you will get paid. And employees are loving it. They have signed up for these internal projects and gigs because every company goes through peaks and troughs in terms of volume where they're sitting. So this is a great way of leveraging and embracing technology. And in a way, if somebody had a job that was paying them 10 lakhs a year, they're now making 12 to 15 lakhs a year easily. So that's the impact of socio-economic. The other piece is entrepreneurship mindset. All this technology has also unleashed a lot of people to embrace it and become entrepreneurs. People who were doing jobs earlier are using these tools. Now, for example, just a couple of years back, a year ago, you needed to know coding to make a website. Now you need to just tell a generative AI bot and it creates the code in a portal for you. If you can do that, if you can get the generative AI to create videos for you, you can start a monetized YouTube channel this evening, right? All it needs is creativity, it needs some thinking and embracing technology, and again that mindset to adapt and go, right? So the world is going to be a better place. The socio-economic sort of condition of human beings will improve with this technology as long as we're all open to it.
Fabulous. What a beautiful perspective. Thank you so much. Kapil, Amit, would you like to add anything?
I think I will agree with what Sumit has said. The creator economy is going to boom. The Instagram channels. I think when some of these things happen, you will see arts becoming more prominent. They become more monetizable. So you will see a lot of solopreneurs coming up. That's one thing. The second thing what is also happening is today students are using a lot of ChatGPT. So if a ChatGPT is able to answer an exam, then I think we need to fundamentally question saying, are our exams really tuned to the future? So maybe we should start thinking how we examine our students, saying that how will they thrive in a world where AI is going to coexist with them, and all the lower skills and even to medium complex skills will be taken over by AI. Then how do we want them to survive? So we should be questioning and examining and creating those kind of skills. So our education system as such also needs to evolve and do it. I'll be very surprised if we don't see any AI or ChatGPT relevant courses coming in high schools or even colleges.
I think most schools have started to adapt to this, this new era of technology, because I know my 13-year-old daughter is studying Python in school. She's in 9th standard, and she's studying that. And she's very keen on learning it as well, and she's pretty good at it. I'm quite surprised, actually, that she's so good at it. So yes, I think it's important for our education system also to pivot so that the kids are able to embrace technology early on in their lives. Thank you very much for sharing that perspective. We'd now like to open the panel to the audience. You have a question? Great. Can someone please give her a mic?
Thank you. Hi, I am Richa Mahajan, and I'm HR with GMAC India. So I know we've been discussing, hearing things since morning, and everywhere we're talking about AI and the major scariest question that everybody has in mind, replacing of human beings at the workforce, and we've been discussing it in depth. My question is that, whatever we said right now, and I listened to the whole conversation, very beautiful thing said that, we get more time. We get to do more thinking. But isn't the thinking class a very small percentage of the total workforce in India? If I just talk about India. Most of our field work, most of our transactional jobs, most of our data jobs are done by people who have 1 year, 2 years of experience or being hired from very normal colleges. So are we thinking anything about them? Where would they go? What is there for them? Thinking and everything else, analysis, empathy, and all those things are for the class that is manager and above. What about them? If we try to percolate a little more pragmatic approach to that.
Do you mind me answering that question?
Yeah, please. Sure, please.
So I have an intern in my team who joined my team quite recently, and she has absolutely no experience. She's just out of college. But just because all our tracking of data, whether it's feedback or it's the surveys that we roll out, all of that is taken care of by technology. This girl is able to do a lot more than that. So what she is now learning, instead of just learning how to input data into the system, she's now learning how to create content, how to manage an audience. So audience management, she's learning that early on in her career. So what she otherwise would have learned after 2 years of having served as an intern, taking care of data, managing data and MIS, she's learning that early on. So I think it is speeding up her learning as well. So I just feel that it is all about the mindset. It is all about the way you think as a leader. You have to display trust. You have to invest as a leader in these newbies, because obviously they're fresh from college, they wouldn't really have too much of corporate exposure. But I think that investment as a leader in them will define how much is it that they're able to perform, even in that junior role that they're doing. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, and just want to add on to this, Deepshika, because if you see AI and RPA, those things, can they see future? Today we are talking about the future skills, right, which are not only AI, not only RPA, but something in future which we don't know today, right? This is all about future skills. If you talk about ChatGPT and AI, they are able to help you with the help of data, which is historical data. That means something has happened in past, they are working on that data, and they are giving you that intelligence to work upon those aspects currently. But what about the future? So what about the thinking element or that creativity, that innovation, which a person can bring, which an AI cannot bring? So I think that team, which is working in the organization for last 10, 12 years, they are good thinkers, they are creative people, and they can work along with these tools as a companions, as friends, and then do better.
I'll probably share a different perspective on this one. Contrary to what everybody thinks that AI is going to replace all of this workforce, that's not going to happen. Because for AI to function, there is still a lot of work that has to happen, especially on the data, the transaction processing, and creating that structured data which it can use. I think a lot of those transactional work will still exist, which doesn't require a lot of cognitive skills, because that is a precursor for some of these tools to function. And the second thing is that given the ethical concerns or even the regulations that will come into place because of data privacy, I don't think every work will go and use AI. There will be a lot of situations where there will be some of these rules that are currently being discussed and framed behind doors, which will probably come out. So they are going to protect and in fact keep some of these jobs still relevant.
Yeah, just to add again from a real example, this is not the domain of managers and above alone. It may vary industry to industry in terms of timing where things are today, but I can tell you from an example, a real example from our organization and many others in the IT services and stuff like that, the very frontliners who earlier, to your point, were doing transactional jobs, etc., are today participating in creating bots. We have invested and trained them, those who are interested, and we've built an army of frontline that can build bots. Why them? Because nobody knows the process and the transaction better than them. They know where the loopholes were. They know where it was difficult for them as humans to process. So we said, here is how you can create quick bots, practice, and we converted it into a contest. These guys submitted their ideas and they started creating their bots. And basis this, we've actually passed on the improvement back to our customers, and this is catching on like fire. So the frontline ultimately with technology will elevate as long as organizations give them the opportunity and invest. It is not rocket science.
Thank you so much. I think that's what I was looking for, that if we are on that tangent that, we all need to do thinking, we all need to do creativity, then what about them? If we already have a plan, I think that's a good start itself. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good evening. It was really inspiring to be here and listen to all of you. My name is Alka Wahi. My question to you actually, as you rightly mentioned that Gen Z and rather all of us would not want to work 8 to 10 hours in a day, 6 days in a week, and that everybody would agree. We all nodded our heads when you said that. So my question to you is, this is not the only problem for Gen Z, it's working 8 to 10 hours continuously, consistently, but other problems too, like, the mindset, the learning attitude, and of course the money, the greed for money, and maybe the unsettling behavior. So my question to you is, won't the organization be impacted, or rather are impacted with the attrition? Because it would be really, what happens when these people leave the projects you have come up with, projects, gigs, and other things? are you not facing a challenge to produce a product or a service well on time in the market? Because you would agree, creating a product or a service which is competitive, more important it is to deliver on time. Because if you need to survive in this cutting edge. So how do you justify this?
Sure, good question. See, attrition is not a new problem. It's existed for a very long time across
ages.
industries, especially in IT services, retail, consumer services, everywhere, right? Now, again, it's up to organizations and leaders to embrace the change and produce policies that create that environment which the generation today, the workforce of today desires. Some examples I'll give you. Just on that whole thing around we don't want to work for so long, so many hours. Basis performance, there are organizations like ours that are encouraging employees and saying you can actually accumulate points converted to a day off over and above the leaves that you get. Convert this to a half a day. Convert this to I will work from home today, even for those who may be mandatorily working from office due to client requirements or etc. We're creating flexible policies like these. The other thing is to build stickiness around learning and career growth. That's the other big thing which this generation is looking for. Am I working in a place which will help me grow? Is this a job? Is it a career? As long as you are showing them that there is a career and with every stage there is a connected learning and a connected part to grow, those organizations are doing a better job at keeping people back. Pay can never be enough. And it is not a lever you can work on because the entire industry will then get commoditized and you'll only be fighting on who can pay better. And that is not sustainable. So the only way to do this is create a good working environment, good open leadership, environment of learning, generate curiosity amongst people to learn, and if they learn, give them a chance to grow, and with that, improve their earning potential, flexible work environment. All of this is in tandem what we are doing and which is working. But also, be prepared for the attrition that is inevitable. So your business model must be designed around it also. If you need X people, you must embrace a 10-20% will go at a certain point in time, and how will you still deliver to your customer?
Very true, because I remember a company like Air India SAS, they told me they keep 100 passed out from colleges in reservoir. And I asked him, 100? She said yes, because you do not know, in like few days, we keep coming and looking for more. So that's the state of our industry. Thank you very much.